Huh? I heard an unusual voice from my typically mild-mannered wife. It seemed that something I said had hit the switch of her anger. In our 26 years of marriage, I had never heard her speak like this before. She gave me a chilly look as I tried to laugh it off. However, I would soon understand her true intentions and reaffirm the depth of her love for me. My name is Anthony. I'm 61 years old. 3 years ago, my wife and I started running a restaurant together. It's a tiny place with just 8 counter seats and 2 tables. But for me now, this place is also my precious castle. The regulars from the neighborhood, my friends. The customers are often familiar faces, and now, past my 60s, I feel more alive than ever. I'm in charge of cooking, and my wife takes care of the service. I work silently, occasionally smiling as I listen to my wife chatting with the customers. We hadn't planned on owning a restaurant. As a child, I helped with dinner in place of my working parents, and by upper elementary school, I could prepare meals on my own. I enjoyed cooking and had a vague dream of owning my own place someday. However, when I mentioned my desire to attend culinary school after graduating high school, my parents immediately objected. They argued that working for a stable company would be more secure. Lacking strong willpower, I easily decided to go to university instead. My dream of owning a restaurant hadn't vanished, but I didn't feel defeated because I could always cook my own meals whenever I wanted. After graduating from college and becoming a company employee, I embarked on a stable life. Living with my parents, my sole hobby was cooking. Both of my working parents had retired and were enjoying their hobbies and leisure activities. Due to our meal times not aligning, I decided to prepare my own meals. I sometimes cooked for them on weekends. I didn't consider myself lacking in sociability, but even with my routine of commuting between work and home, I found enjoyment in trying out new restaurants and searching for unusual seasonings. I was quite content with my life as it was. However, a senior colleague at work decided I must be lonely because I was single and semi-forced me into attending a mixer. I had some experience with dating but didn't feel lonely without a partner. I was just going to save my senior's face. At the mixer, I was seated across from Samantha, who was also my age by chance. She was a dynamic woman, taking the lead in ordering for everyone and serving dishes. As she was busy serving, I reached out to serve her some food. "Hey, Samantha, please stop for a moment and enjoy your meal." As I reached to take the serving dish she was holding, she looked at me, startled. "Oh, thank you. I just got carried away. Was I bothering you?" She was worried that she might have been a nuisance. "No, not at all. Everyone's just looking out for themselves. You should eat without worrying, Samantha." Saying this, I pointed at the seniors who were casually picking at their food. "Maybe it's an occupational hazard. I just can't help wanting to take care of others." She blushed slightly, giving a shy smile. "What do you do for work?" As I pondered what kind of job involves caring for others, I asked Samantha. "I work as a preschool teacher, so I'm always taking care of kids. That's why, even when I go out to eat with my girlfriends, I can help but act a bit like a mom, setting up the small plates and serving the food." Blushing, Samantha lightly sipped her beer, as if to hide her embarrassment. "So, you're everyone's mom. I can see you're very dedicated to your work. On the other hand, I like to cook for everyone." Surprisingly, we hit it off at the mixer and exchanged contact information towards the end. Since we both lived with our parents, we arranged specific days and times when we could be sure to answer each other's calls. Until then, my life was just work and home. On my days off, I spend my time exploring different eateries and searching for unique condiments. Then, the time I spent with my girlfriend became a part of my life. There were days when she would join me in my hobbies, and days when I would participate in hers, Sometimes, we would even make lunch boxes together and have picnics in the park. "Your cooking is always the best, Tony," she'd say. Samantha, not wanting to simply call me by my name, started calling me Tony. "Your hamburgers are delicious too, Samantha." Suddenly, she went silent and looked down. "What's wrong?" Concerned, I looked closer and she puffed her cheeks, glaring at me playfully like a mischievous child. "Of course it's delicious. It's store-bought after all. I simply can't match your culinary prowess." Saying this, she took a large bite of the fried chicken I had prepared. She expressed her enjoyment of the fried chicken with a trembling delight. "It makes me so happy to see you enjoy my cooking so much, Samantha." After finishing the fried chicken, she said to me, "Because it's truly delicious. If you opened a restaurant, I'm confident I'd become a regular for sure." Her words reminded me of a childhood dream I once had. "A restaurant, huh?" Murmuring this to myself, she asked with a serious look on her face. "What's wrong?" Concerned about my chuckle of remembrance, this time Samantha leaned in to get a closer look at my face. I was just remembering a dream I had as a kid." She took a sip of her tea and asked, "A dream?" "My parents both worked, so there were times when I'd prepare dinner. I never minded cooking. I actually enjoyed it. But when I said I wanted to become a chef, they shot me down. As I grew up, I harbored a dream of owning my own restaurant, and that's what I was just reminiscing about." I was worried she might think I was naive, but contrary to my fears, her eyes lit up as she said to me, "Well, that's amazing. Having your own restaurant would be wonderful, Tony. With your cooking skills, there's no need to give up on your dream, right?" And with that, driven by my desire to be with her forever, I proposed to Samantha. It's been 2 years since we started dating. I'm confident about our future and building a happy home with her, who's always so comfortable to be with. She accepted my proposal with joy, saying, "Thank you, Tony, and can I make a suggestion?" Raising her index finger, she added her proposal. "What is it?" Drained of energy from proposing, I listened to her suggestion. I was thinking about starting a dream savings account. Seeing the puzzled look on my face, she explained, "Dream savings is about saving money to support your dreams or mine, Tony. Little by little, it adds up. You know, many a little makes a mickle." Hearing this, I thought it was a brilliant idea, but I also wondered about her dreams. "What's your dream, Samantha?" She tried to dodge the question with a vague answer. "My dream? Well, let's put that aside for now." She didn't give a clear answer, but it seemed she hadn't decided yet. After we got married, she continued working, and we shared household chores. Naturally, I took on most of the cooking, while I left the laundry and cleaning, which I wasn't good at, to her. I never held the belief that women should do the household chores just because they are women. I think it's best if whoever is capable does what they can. However, I received a lot of criticism from her about laundry and cleaning, so I stopped attempting those chores altogether. So, I put all my effort into cooking delicious meals every day. I had to cut back on exploring new seasonings and eateries, sticking to my allowance, as we started saving for our dream. Seeing the balance in our dream savings account grow made me wonder if my childhood dream might actually come true. I even caught myself thinking silly thoughts like whether she had cast a spell on me. But then, something happened that put a stop to these musings. The following year after we got married, our first child, a son, was born. We decided to name him Michael. Despite it being our first time raising a child, her job as a preschool teacher meant she was accustomed to handling babies. Naturally, as he was our child, I was keen on being involved in his upbringing. However, whether it was the way I held him, my scent, or the texture, he wouldn't stop crying in my arms. She would caution me not to sway him too roughly, leading to a change of hands. In her arms, his cries would cease so abruptly it was almost startling. Maybe there was a sense of security in her touch. Becoming a parent truly made me realize the immense challenge it entails. After a whirlwind year of parental leave, she returned to work. Our mornings became frantic, and one wrong move could upset Michael's mood. Following a set routine, we demonstrated excellent teamwork. However, as mentioned before, an unforeseen event occurred. She developed a mental illness. Her passion for her job as a preschool teacher and the stress and fatigue from her diligent work led to her physical incapacity. Unable to continue working, she had to resign about 6 months after her return. I gently rubbed her back as she fell into a deep slump. Holding Michael, tears welled up in her eyes. "I'm sorry. We can't save for our dream anymore. I've become a burden." She apologized repeatedly. "What are you talking about? You've worked so hard, Samantha. Maybe this is God's way of telling you to take a rest." A tear rolled down her cheek. Michael, with a smile, reached out his tiny hand as if to wipe her tear away. It looked as if he was comforting her. Seeing that scene, I knew I had to protect them both. I made a firm resolution in my heart. After that, she seemed distant, lost in her thoughts. She never neglected Michael's care, but her smiles were rare, and she spoke very little. I wanted her to return to her usual self, but I knew better than to rush. Remembering our first picnic, I prepared the same lunch and took Samantha and Michael to the same spot. Standing in the same place as that day, I felt the wind on my face, bringing a sense of comfort. Turning to Samantha, she seemed to be enjoying the breeze on her cheek just as much. "Come on, I've made us some lunch, let's eat. Michael, sit down and let's eat together." As Michael, who is almost 2 years old, is seated on the spread-out picnic blanket, she stands up to open the lunchbox. "Daddy's chicken. Love it so much." With a hearty appetite, like her, he happily eats the fried chicken I make, calling it delicious. As Michael, his hands and mouth all greasy, tries to wipe his hands on my clothes, I hurry to stop him. She laughed for the first time in a while, watching our antics. Watching this unfold, I let go of his hand, and my clothes end up a mess with bits of fried chicken and grease. Seeing my clothes all messed up, I put on a sad face with an "oh no." At that, he laughs out loud and even tries to put his tiny hands on his face. Seeing this interaction, she too shows a joyful smile. That's right, as long as the three of us can laugh together like this, that's all that matters. Since we started saving for our dream, the childhood dreams I had given up on might just come true. No, I definitely want to make them come true. Before I knew it, such feelings might have started to take root in my heart. These feelings might have become a burden for her, leading to this outcome. Perhaps, dreams should just remain dreams. As my feelings started to change, her health also seemed to be gradually improving. When Michael entered elementary school and she started having some time to herself, she began working short hours as a child care worker, making a gradual return to her profession. Perhaps because she could do the job she loved, she began to speak more positively. She even brought up the dream I had shared with her before we got married. Even though we couldn't save much in our dream fund, now that I'm back at work, maybe it's feasible. I was touched, but I couldn't just say, "Let's do it." I don't want Michael to have to give up on his dreams because of financial reasons. Hearing that, her enthusiasm seemed to wane. "But do you remember when we looked at that used property before we built this house? That house had a shop on the first floor, and you said a home combined with a store might be nice, right?" I vaguely remembered the day she was talking about. True, we did talk about that, but I don't have the courage to quit my current job and take on a 30-year mortgage on the house. Dreams are called dreams because they are not meant to be achieved. With that, I ended the conversation. She seemed unsatisfied but swallowed her thoughts. I was content just cooking for my family and hearing them say it was delicious. And Michael was growing up, reaching the time to decide his path after high school graduation. I had easily given up my own dreams to comply with my parents' wishes. I didn't regret it, but I wanted him to build his future according to his own will. I would be there to offer advice and support when he wasn't sure. I wanted to watch over him as he walked down the path he chose. And so, he decided to pursue architecture in college. When we turned 50, he graduated from college and began living on his own to start his job. At the same time, he introduced us to his girlfriend. She's already pregnant with their child. Though I had thoughts about the timing and his being irresponsible in his first year of work, their determination to marry and have the children was firm, and we decided to support them with both families' blessing. Then, I received my transfer orders. After years of desk work, I was ordered to transfer to a field position. To a subsidiary in the neighboring state, no less. It was clear they wanted me to take early retirement. When I got home, I told my wife about the transfer. "Well, that's so sudden." Of course, she was shocked. "They probably want me to take early retirement. Maybe I'll work there for about 5 years. Now that Michael is independent, maybe it's time to make way for the younger ones. If I quit now, I won't get the full retirement pay, but maybe we could start that shop." I tried to lighten the mood and mentioned this idea to her. However, her expression changed completely. Starting a shop isn't child's play." I was surprised at her tone but responded, "But you used to talk about it, remember?" I brought up the past conversation. "That was when we were young. Now that we're older, we need to think about our future lifestyle. I've always wondered why you're so quick to give up things for others. Even if the company wants you gone, you should stay until you get the full retirement. I'll stay here. Go on your own if you must." Her cold response made me angry, but I retorted with determination. "I was thinking of you and Michael. I get it. I'll go alone. Living by myself, that'll be an adventure." Eventually, I moved to the new location without much conversation with Samantha. She must have had her own concerns. Spending time apart might bring us back to normal. Thanks to Michael keeping in touch, our family didn't completely fall apart. Living alone, I realized that cooking for my family was my only true joy. After finishing work on time and returning home, I found no energy to cook, despite loving it so much before. For the first time in a long while, I bought a convenience store dinner. I take a bite of the warmed-up food. It's not about savoring the flavor, just fueling up for tomorrow's work. I wondered if Samantha was eating well. I moved here without talking much, and ultimately, all I could think about was how she was doing. I didn't care much about meals, but I relied on her for clothes and underwear, often wearing socks that were thinning and tearing. Just when I needed it, Michael would always come by on weekends with new things, as if on cue. "Here's some stuff for you," he'd say, bringing new socks, underwear, and clothes. He said he chose them, but I believed Samantha bought those items and he was bringing them to me. That's what I thought. "Thanks, as always, but how's everything at home?" I could only bring myself to ask about the house, but I was actually trying to inquire about how Samantha was doing. "Home, it's fine." "Oh, you mean Mom? She's good. She's been a big help with our eldest since my wife is expecting our second child." Hearing this made me feel relieved. It's been 5 years since I started living alone. I didn't return home until the Christmas holidays of the first year after moving, desperate to adjust to the new place. I was as nervous as if I was returning to a stranger's home, not having kept in frequent touch. Initially, there was some tension, but Samantha welcomed me warmly, and I felt relieved in the usual atmosphere. spending a lively end of the year with Michael's family. After that, I came back during the summers and brief holidays, but in the last year, she visited me more often. Even when I said I would come home, she would find reasons not to let me. Although it felt odd, I didn't mind since Samantha seemed to enjoy these trips like vacations. Then, in the 5th year, I learned the company was planning layoffs. I was the first to be approached, and though Samantha might disapprove, I wanted to give my spot to a junior colleague and decided to accept their offer, as I would receive the full retirement package. Nervous about possibly angering her again, I called Michael instead. "Michael, I'm sorry. It looks like I'll be leaving the company. I'll be done by the end of March." He didn't seem particularly concerned and responded casually. "Dad, you've worked hard, so you have 3 more months, huh?" The emphasis on 3 months felt significant for some reason. "Yeah, just 3 months left." Although I sounded a bit melancholic, he simply acknowledged and said, "Got it," seemingly unfazed. I told him about my retirement but couldn't bring myself to tell Samantha directly. Even though she must have heard, she didn't contact me. As my departure neared, I worried whether I had a place to return to. But soon, I would discover why Samantha hadn't wanted me to come home. On the last day of March, Michael came over to help with the move the next day. "Should I even go back to that house?" I asked tentatively. Michael laughed, seemingly amused. Sorry, but that's your house, right? What are you worried about? You're still concerned about things with Mom." "Oh, I found something great when I was cleaning the house the other day." With that, he showed me something on his phone, grinning. It was a wish he had written in kindergarten. Besides his dream, there was another piece of paper with something written in tiny letters. "I want to be the manager of Anthony's shop." Squinting at the fine print, Michael mumbles, "Is this?" "It says Samantha here, that's what it means." He showed a meaningful smile, said he was heading to bed for tomorrow's work, and quickly lay down. Her dream. When we were younger and I talked about saving for our dreams, she didn't share hers. Was this her dream? Then why did she react that way when I mentioned the transfer? The next day, Michael and I loaded my few belongings into the car and left the apartment I had lived in for 5 years. "Dad, did you forget anything? Off to the castle of dreams we go." Hearing him say this with such joy made me worry if he was plotting something mischievous. The familiar surroundings of our home hadn't changed, but after a year, it all seemed so fresh. My heart raced as we approached the house. As I thought, just around this corner, I couldn't find my house. "Wait, where's the house?" With a nervous voice, I got a laugh and a response from Michael. "Haha, what are you talking about? This is your house, right here." The garden facing the house had transformed into a parking space that could fit about 4 cars, altering the appearance of the house I knew. "What's all this about?" As I got out of the car and stared at the house in disbelief, Michael nudged me on the back, guiding me inside. "The real treat is inside the house." Opening the front door, it felt like we were entering a store. Inside, there were counter seats lined up, with 2 tables available as well. "Sorry, Dad, for doing this without asking, but does this place look familiar to you?" As I struggled to recall, he provided the answer. "Remember when we were looking at various places before building our house? There was one where the first floor was a shop, right? I modeled it after that atmosphere. It's a vague memory, though." That jolted my memory. "Built? You mean you built this?" I turned to Michael with an even more surprised look. "I am a licensed architect, after all." Then, a little boy came running up, calling out "Grandpa." Michael's son peeked out from behind the counter, followed by Samantha in an apron, chasing after him. "Samantha." Before I could prepare myself emotionally, I struggled to find the right words. But Samantha spoke up. "You've worked hard all this time. This place will be where we start the second chapter of our lives together." I finally understood the answer she had been angry about that day. She had been determined to fulfill my dream. But due to her health, the dream savings hadn't gone as planned, and she felt guilty. Just as she was considering using the retirement money, I carelessly mentioned quitting my job, leading to that day's argument. "Did you think I was being greedy?" she asked, looking somewhat embarrassed. I couldn't find the words and just shook my head. "Even if we start a shop, we need funds to keep it running. Your cooking will definitely captivate everyone, and after that, I started learning what's necessary to open a food business from acquaintances in the industry. I even took a course to become a food protection manager because it's required. Since you said you'd quit by March, I asked Michael to renovate the house within that time frame, and here we are." Listening to Samantha speak so happily, I kept murmuring thank you over and over. "Samantha, to think you went to all this trouble for me. Thank you so much." My voice was shaking with tears by the last word. I had always hoped my family would never give up on anything, yet I was the one who had nearly given up on everything. They taught me the joy of having dreams come true. Call it greed, call it whatever, it doesn't matter. I want to make Samantha happy, the one who chased after my dream as if it were her own. My ultimate dream was this, but I'll keep it a secret for now. As the streetlights flickered on again today, I listened to Samantha's joyful laughter, ready to swing into action. Samantha, donning her favorite apron, hung up the open sign and called out loudly to me. "Tony, it's time to open up." Wearing a pristine white apron, I stepped up to the counter, and our first customer pushed the door open with a jingle. "Welcome. You're not needed here." "Huh? You don't belong at the headquarters. Choose between getting fired or being demoted to the countryside." This sudden declaration came from the department head, a graduate of a national university. "People like you, who are incompetent, are not needed." He didn't know that I was the only one capable of making a certain part, as he shouted at me. "Then, I'll take the firing." Although I wanted to retaliate, being unjustly yelled at made me respond that way involuntarily. Reluctantly, I gathered my belongings and left the company. The next day, the department head reviewed the documents for our client. He ended up calling me, looking absolutely pale. "My name is Bill, a 30-year-old with a wife and a daughter in kindergarten. I work in the corporate sales department of a planner company. After graduating from a vocational school, I've been working at this company ever since." "Oh, Bill, how are you?" "Ah, good." "Bill, you're quite reserved, aren't you?" "Yeah, I might be a bit hard to approach. I continue to work at the headquarters, but I've always been bad at socializing and get nervous when talking to people. That's why I naturally avoided conversations, and my talkativeness dwindled. As a result, I didn't interact much with other employees and felt like I was working in a department of my own." Well, Bill's work is perfect. And he's so diligent, we can rely on him with ease. Being serious about my work, I was highly regarded as very conscientious by those around me. Well, I was just absorbed in my work, after all. Without indulging in idle talk, I devoted myself to my work from morning till evening. "I'm home." "How was your day, Bill?" "Hi, Daddy." At home, my beloved wife Madison and my daughter Ava would welcome me. Our home is filled with adorable handmade crafts. A stuffed cat to greet us at the entrance, embroidered animal paintings on the wall, keychains modeled after a certain anime character hanging on a corkboard, and a small lamp that gives off a slightly mystical vibe. The handmade crafts were beautifully decorated with vibrant paintings. "I'll start preparing dinner now." "Ah, thank you." I'll help too, Mommy. Then, shall we set the placemats together? Yes. The placemats laid out for dinner are also embroidered with cute designs that my daughter would love. Indeed, when my daughter saw this for the first time, she was overjoyed. I want to take this to kindergarten. That might be a bit tricky. If you take it outside, you might lose it. Let's keep it in its designated spot. Okay, got it. I was pleased that my daughter understood and agreed. We also have toys designed to help her learn numbers and the alphabet. This includes felt toys shaped like letters and wooden blocks with letters carved into them. Thanks to these toys, my daughter, who is still in kindergarten, has been having fun learning her letters. However, it's not like we're pushing her into some sort of early education program. We're just happy if she can learn while playing. That's the kind of approach we're taking. My wife is similar. She teaches our daughter while they play together, but doesn't seem to push her too hard. Our daughter is growing up well in a warm and loving home. Daddy, I want this doll. Let me see. Oh, this one is fine. Don't spoil Ava too much. I know, it's a reward for being praised at kindergarten. Well, if that's the case, then it's okay. Though I'm not much for conversation at work, I can engage in happy conversations at home. I've been working for a decent length of time, but I don't hold any particular position at the company. That said, I'm not particularly interested in climbing the corporate ladder. I'm content as long as I can continue with my current duties. I find my job to be a perfect fit for me. Once I get started, I can concentrate and find my time at the company both fulfilling and enjoyable. I was content enough to want to do the same job until retirement. Just when work and family life are both fulfilling, an incident occurred that abruptly shattered it all. Starting today, I'll be taking over as a department head here. My name is Kevin, and I look forward to working with you all. In the personnel changes, a new department head was transferred in. That was Kevin. The fact is, people with lower education levels can't do significant work. On the other hand, those who graduate from famous universities, especially with a bachelor's degree, tend to do excellent work. Kevin was known for valuing academic credentials. It seems he himself graduated from Harvard. Among the employees at the headquarters, there were those who had only high school or vocational school diplomas. However, in our department, most of the employees were university graduates. It seemed that I was one of the few with a vocational diploma in our department, and it appeared that Kevin had set his sights on me. Hey, Bill, the boss is here. Make sure you greet him properly. Yeah, I did though. Your voice was too soft. Kevin started to pick on me for anything and everything. Why doesn't this vocational school graduate try to consult me? It's creepy how he just works silently by himself. It seems that he didn't like the fact that I rarely sought others' instructions and worked silently on my own. Don't worry about it too much, Bill. Yes. Kevin prefers subordinates who consult him. I was informed by a colleague, which made sense. He may glare at me with a stern look, but Kevin, I've finished this task. What should I do next? Next you should. He would smile and give gentle instructions to juniors who would consult him for everything. In a way, he was easy to understand. There are things that only Bill can do, after all. Thank you. Now, I'd better get back to work before I get glared at too. I greeted the colleague who shared this with me and then focused on my own work. Indeed, there were tasks entrusted only to me here. I just needed to concentrate on those. I figured Kevin would eventually get tired of meddling with me. However, I would later realize that this was a naive thought. One day, the corporate sales department was discussing the planner lineup for the next fiscal year. Our main products are planners for employees. We pitched to large corporations with samples, saying, "How about this design for your company's planners for next year?" Since the requirements vary from client to client, such as waterproofing being essential for some, preferring smaller sizes for others, or being strictly dust-free, we had to come up with various plans. As a result, the meetings tended to be long. While everyone else was caught up in this, I was diligently carrying on with my usual tasks. It's not that I was skipping the meetings. My tasks were specialized, and I wasn't required to participate in meetings. Therefore, I remained focused on my work even during the meetings. "Hey, what are you doing, Bill?" "Why are you here instead of participating in the meeting?" Everyone was supposed to know that. However, Kevin complained to me for some reason. "While everyone in the department is struggling in the meeting, what are you doing?" I was puzzled by Kevin's unreasonable complaint. "I'm just doing my job." I hesitated under Kevin's intimidating tone. "What?" "I've been instructed by previous department heads to prioritize my tasks over meetings." I explained this to Kevin, who frowned in response. Hearing this, Kevin smirked in a mocking way. "I see. So you're incompetent, and that's why the previous department heads told you it's okay not to come to the meetings." It seemed like a misunderstanding, but I was too slow to grasp what was said and didn't have the chance to correct him. This is why vocational school graduates can't do proper work. Frankly, you're not needed. You're not needed at the headquarters. Choose between getting fired or being demoted to the countryside. I was stunned by what was said. Fired or demoted to the countryside. Just for doing my job. People like you, who are incompetent, are not needed. I tried to retort but was cut off by more yelling, which left me speechless again. "Come on, choose. Fired or demoted." My natural reticence prevented me from finding the right words. Fired or demoted. Then, fired. What? I'll take being fired. Being yelled at made me respond reflexively. "You're okay with being fired, then? In that case, an incompetent person like you should leave the company immediately." "Then I'll resign." Though it was a reflexive response, after being told off to this extent, I couldn't continue working as before. I chose to resign right then and there. So it was decided. I was fired. I packed my things and left the company. Finally got rid of that useless dead weight. Kevin's voice echoed as I was leaving, making me slump my shoulders. What should I do now? My mind was filled with thoughts about the future and how to explain this to my family. In the end, unable to come up with a good plan, I decided to be honest and entered the house. "Wow, it's Daddy." "Oh, welcome back. You're home early today, aren't you?" My family was surprised but welcomed me warmly, seeing me come home early. I felt tears welling up as I saw their faces. "Bill, what's wrong?" "Daddy, are you sad?" "Madison, Ava, I got fired." When I said this with a trembling voice, my wife was surprised but quickly calmed me down, saying, "First, take a seat. Now, tell me everything." I then explained everything about my interaction with Kevin, trying not to hold back despite feeling like crying. "I see, you've had a tough time. You've worked hard up until now. Daddy, you did your best, right? There. Neither my wife nor daughter blamed me. Madison hugged me, and Ava patted my head. "I'm really sorry." "It's okay. Now that it's come to this, take some time to rest." "But what about the living expenses?" "Don't worry. We have some savings, and I'll ask my manager to increase my shifts." My wife offered to cover our living expenses for a while by increasing her part-time work hours. "In return, could you take care of dropping off and picking up Ava?" "Of course." Daddy's going to come. Yes. Yay, I can spend more time with Daddy. My daughter was delighted to hear that she would have more time with me. Being fired and then immediately seeing my family move forward so positively made me feel grateful. Thank you both. It's nothing. Oh, that reminds me. My wife stood up and brought back a flyer. What's this? A planetarium. Yes, Ava said she wanted to go with you. Is that so, Ava? Do you want to go to the planetarium with me tomorrow? Yes, I want to go. Then, please take care of Ava tomorrow. Understood. Meanwhile, back in the department I had left. Where's Bill? We can proceed without him. A few hours later, everyone who had come out of the meeting was looking around in surprise. It seemed they were puzzled not to find me, who was considered a key member of the department. Did he leave early because he was feeling unwell? But all his things are gone from his desk. That's true. What happened? As everyone began to panic, realizing even my personal items were gone, they decided to ask Kevin, who was still there, about my whereabouts. I fired that incompetent, ha ha ha. Kevin laughed as if he had done a great job when asked about the situation. This left his colleagues with pale faces in shock. That's unacceptable. Please revoke the termination immediately. They advised Kevin, but it was too late. I had already left the company, and since we hadn't exchanged personal contact information, they couldn't get in touch with me. I did have a company phone, but I had left it on my desk. Why keep someone who can't even participate in a meeting? Isn't that just stealing a salary? You don't understand Bill's worth. Brandon, the section manager, showed documents related to dealings with a major client to Kevin, who was looking puzzled. The documents were about delivery conditions for a major client. The employee handbooks for managerial positions required manual initial embroidery by me as a mandatory condition. What? Bill was requested by name. You're new to the transfer, so it's understandable that you didn't know. Kevin, who started to get confused, was then handed several more documents with similar conditions from various clients. Seeing this, Kevin visibly began to shake. What is this? We were planning to have a meeting to brief you on the situation since you were newly transferred, but this backfired. Bill is truly irreplaceable in this company. My leather embroidery skills were rare, not just within the company but also across the United States, with only a handful of people at my level. One look, and you'll see the beauty of his initial embroidery. It's quite remarkable. Of course, I varied the fonts according to our clients' requests. Not only did I use existing fonts, but I also created custom fonts for embroidery based on client specifications. Because I was tasked with such specialized work, I didn't interact much with other employees. I also hadn't attended the meeting. Well, even if I did attend meetings, the content wouldn't change much, and honestly, I wouldn't be able to meet delivery deadlines if I didn't work on embroidery during those times. Fortunately, many clients requested me by name, leading to a backlog of orders. No way. It's useless to call him now. Bill values his family time, so he generally doesn't take calls. Kevin, realizing the mistake of firing me, turned pale. The next day, Kevin apparently tried to call me several times, but I was using the rare weekday off to visit the planetarium with my daughter, so my phone was turned off. Why won't he answer? Please, Bill, pick up. Kevin was reportedly furious. Later, a colleague told me how difficult it was to calm Kevin down. It was beautiful. Yeah, it was. Daddy, can you make those sparkles? Let's see. Whoa. Unaware of this situation, I was surprised by the numerous voicemails from the company as we left the planetarium. What's wrong, Daddy? Nothing. I decided to play just one voicemail, which turned out to be from Kevin. The message was, "My apologies, please come back." He seemed genuinely remorseful, saying things like, "I didn't understand the scope of your work. After seeing the trading documents, I understood the added value your work brings. I truly apologize." It was clear he understood and regretted his actions concerning my work. "Ava, Daddy needs to make a phone call. Can you read a picture book for a while?" "Okay, sure." Smiling at Ava, who obediently started reading a picture book on a nearby bench, I called the company back. "Bill, I'm truly sorry. Yes, I accept your apology. However, I've promised to spend a lot of time with my daughter this week, so I'll be taking paid leave." "Okay. I'll be back next week." "You're coming back. Thank you so much." After receiving a heartfelt apology from Kevin, who have been nothing but troublesome up to this point, I ended the call. "Come on, Ava, let's go out to eat today." "Yay, I want a hamburger." "All right, let's go then." "Okay." Holding my daughter's hand, I headed to a hamburger restaurant. "I'm home." "Hi, Mom." "Hi, Madison." "Did you have fun, Ava?" "Yes, it was fun." "That's good, Bill. I wonder if something nice happened for you too." After my wife returned from her part-time job, I explained the whole incident to her in detail. "Ahaha. You're laughing too much." My wife burst into laughter. "You should have told that nasty guy off. Do you even understand the value of the embroidery only I can do?" As if I could say that. I found myself laughing along with my wife, who was still beaming brightly. "You're too modest. You should brag more about your skills." Saying this, my wife hugged me again. But maybe if I had communicated more with Kevin, this whole termination fiasco might not have happened. "Daddy, are you going to do a lot of embroidery from now on?" my daughter asked, tilting her head adorably. "Yes, important people all over America use planners with Daddy's embroidery." My wife said this proudly as she lifted our daughter. "When I start elementary school, you'll embroider my planner too, right?" "Of course." "Yay, I want a cute one." "Sure, it's a promise." I happily made a promise with my daughter, who was then passed to me by my wife. "Oh, I asked the manager to increase my shifts, but I need to cancel that now." Rushing to make the call, my wife seemed a bit flustered, but everyone was having a good time. Is it because of me? I felt grateful once again to my family, who never complained despite being dragged into my situations. Thank you, both of you. I need to cherish this family even more in the future. Daddy, I want a cute pattern on the shell of Slimy. Slimy. My daughter brought over a snail plush that I had made for her. She was thrilled when I gave it to her, and it quickly became her favorite. All the homemade toys and crafts in our house, like Slimy, were made by me. Yes, that's good, Bill. You are quite skillful, the complete opposite of your father. You're a joy to teach. From a young age, I learned to craft from my grandmother, who was an instructor in sewing and leather work. Additionally, I studied systematically at a vocational school for sewing. For this, my skills in embroidery improved significantly. And so, I became proficient in all aspects of sewing. Among these, my work with leather embroidery stood out, eventually turning into my profession. I was offered a job at my current company after the president saw the works I created during my vocational school days, expressing a strong desire for me to join their team. And for the record, my father isn't clumsy at all. So, something like this. Well, that's amazing. Unlike your grandma, I can't do embroidery, but I'm good at making these kinds of crafts. My father's hobby was making handicrafts using materials like wood, not embroidery. So, The building blocks and lamps were things I learned to make from my father. Still, embroidery suits me better. When I'm embroidering, I get so immersed in it that I enter my own world. There, all done. Wow, it's like the one from the cartoon. Just as my daughter requested, I added embroidery to Slimy, the snail plush, matching the costume of a popular cartoon character. Thank you, Daddy. You're welcome. Daddy, let's play with Slimy. Sure, let's do that. As my daughter joyfully played with Slimy, I brought out another handmade plush toy. Let me join too. My wife joined in, bringing another stuffed animal with her. We spent some quality time together, making it a fulfilling week. Bill is back. Thank goodness. The following week, when I returned to work, everyone, including Kevin, welcomed me with applause. This is a bit much. Feeling a bit embarrassed, I averted my gaze, and Kevin approached me. I'm sorry for the oversight of my work. It was my mistake. He apologized to me directly. It's all right now. I'm really sorry, thank you. And so, the peaceful environment where I could focus on my work, just like before Kevin transferred, returned. In fact, with everyone supporting me so that I could concentrate, my work progressed even more smoothly than before. As an apology, would you like to go out for a drink sometime? If you don't drink, a meal is fine too. Please let me treat you. Kevin invited me out after work finished earlier than expected one day. Well, it might be tough just the two of us right away. How about with everyone from the department? Kevin had calmed down considerably since then. He must not be a bad person at heart, considering how he's showing concern now. I nodded to Kevin, and we decided to go out for drinks with the entire department. I'm really sorry about everything that happened. I've heard it many times now, so no need for any more apologies. I know I have a short temper and tend to yell at people too quickly. It seemed he was aware of his own issues. I always intend to be more gentle, but indeed, he usually addressed his subordinates as you, but at that time, he did use incompetence in a more informal way. That's why I ended up being so aggressive towards you. I really am sorry for that. Really, it's fine now. If you keep apologizing, it'll spoil the drink. Yeah, you're right. Kevin laughed awkwardly. Having been apologized to repeatedly since we met, I was frankly tired of hearing it. About that, we wanted to apologize too. While we were having this conversation, a colleague spoke up. We were too caught up in our own work to intervene. And we thought you'd eventually figure things out on your own, Bill. We didn't explain things well. We're really sorry. This was partly our responsibility too. It's okay. Seeing my colleagues expressing their remorse, I laughed it off and forgave them. Relieved, everyone smiled back. From there, the atmosphere of the drinking party became lively. I've seen your embroidery. It's truly beautiful. How long have you been doing it? Since I was little. My grandmother taught me. Is that so? Born into it, huh? I always thought you were difficult to approach, Bill, but talking to you now, you seem normally quite kind. I'm not sure what you mean by normal, but I guess I've always been told I'm a bit different. I can sort of understand that. Having a drink together and sharing our feelings like this is important. It felt like a meaningful experience. When I got home, I immediately reported everything to my wife, who was waiting up for me. That's good. Sometimes, it's necessary to have those moments where you can speak your mind. Yeah, I understood that well. You do have an aura that makes it hard for people to approach you, you know. Do I? Yes. You get nervous when you talk to people, right? Maybe that gets communicated to the other person. Her words made me realize something. And because I avoided talking, Maybe that's how I got that reputation. Actually, I was nervous when I first met you too. Is that so? I met my wife during our vocational school days. That said, I was into sewing. She, on the other hand, was into design, which was a bit different. Bill. Huh? I saw your embroidery. I fell in love with it at first sight, and I wanted to see more of your work. She approached me because she was captivated by my embroidery, and that's how we started dating. Now, even though she works part-time, she gives me advice when I struggle with embroidery fonts or the next plush toy to make. Have you ever thought about doing design work? Not so much now. The time I spend with you and Ava is more precious. Maybe my thoughts will change when Ava becomes more independent. My wife said this with a smile. Thanks to her, my sense of style has also been refined. I'm really happy. Why? I know how wonderful both your embroidery and you are. Knowing that your colleagues now see that too makes me happy. This time, I was the one who hugged my wife. The day after we talked about that, I want to have a drinking party with Daddy too. That might be a bit too soon for you, Ava. Hearing that I went out for drinks, my daughter expressed her wish to join, and my wife and I couldn't help but chuckle. All right then, when Dad gets home today, let's have a little party with some juice. Yay, Daddy, come home early. Ha ha ha, got it. I guess I need to hurry home today. Good morning, Bill. Good morning. Good morning, Bill. Something good happened. You're smiling. My thoughts were transparent, easily read by my colleagues at work. And so, I shared about the interaction with my daughter. What a lovely daughter you have. Bill, you really do cherish your family, don't you? So, should we aim for a no overtime day today? Well, we'd better get to work then. Everyone laughed at that. Sure enough, I managed to leave work early that day without any overtime. The department has become a much better place than before. And I've become even more dedicated to my work because of it. It's good to enjoy your work, but don't overdo it. Brandon. Make sure to take breaks, okay? Brandon, the section chief, brought me a coffee. He always praised my embroidery, saying its value was irreplaceable. I'm sorry about what happened. You too, Brandon. I'm not worried about it anymore. I figured as much. Here, a big order from a major company. Thank you. I'll start on it right away. No rush. Take it at your own pace. That's what makes your embroidery even more beautiful. Thank you very much. I'm motivated to work hard for people who appreciate my embroidery like this. All right. Maybe I'll make another plush toy for my daughter once I take a break. With that thought in mind, I continued my embroidery work. I'm off. Take care. Bye-bye, Daddy. My wife and daughter saw me off as I left for work. Good morning. Good morning, Bill. I greeted my colleagues and settled at my desk. Well then. Today, I'm once again working through a pile of leather, carefully personalizing each piece with a name, stitch by stitch. Hoping those who use these journals will appreciate them. Crafted with dedication and care. The work I've been doing since the old days can bring joy to someone. Being able to work using what I'm good at. I savor this kind of happiness. Bill, this is the schedule for the company's events. Thank you. Your embroidery is always so lovely. It's thanks to your work that we can do ours. You're exaggerating. At the same time, I'm navigating the conversations with people I've previously avoided. I'm thinking of gradually overcoming this too. I still can't initiate conversations, but I've started to talk a little with Kevin and other employees. Everyone talks to me without rushing, which I appreciate. Thanks to that, I've gradually become less tense. Daddy, next time, I want to go to a party in a dress matching this one. A dress. Leave it to me. I have an idea for a cute matching dress. My daughter was thrilled with the design my wife had in mind. Hey, Daddy. Yes. I want to be able to embroider like Daddy. Will you teach me? Of course, I'd be happy to. If my daughter learns from my wife's sense and my skills, she might become even better at embroidery than me. But that's for her to choose. What's that paper? It's the schedule for company events. It listed a summer cooling-off party. I haven't attended in years, but maybe it's time to join in again. That's what I'm considering. Then, a decade or so later, I managed to further enhance my embroidery skills. Now, I'm recognized worldwide. As for my daughter, I want to make plush toys like the ones Dad made for me. She said, becoming a famous high school girl who creates unique plush toys in the world. Continuing like this was thanks to my family and colleagues who started to engage with me. Remembering this, I face my embroidery work today. How was that? Subscribing will motivate me for future video productions. See you in the next video.